talking about from a societal perspective. There is nothing more important than how people are meeting, if they're getting married, and if they're having kids. If we care about the future of the world, of human society, that is the number one issue.
The job market is over-optimized and said, hey, we're going to take 5% of these employees that are applying for us, and we're just going to try to go with those guys. And that is creating what I like to think of as a negative reinforcement loop, right? So you're negatively reinforcing the fact that, hey, these 5% are always the best people. And like you said, the rest of the 95%, there's probably more people in that 95% as a absolute number than there are in the 5% that are qualified, that are actually qualified.
Yeah. You have this phenomenon that happens where when you over optimize something, you sort of lose the substance of it, I guess, is how I would phrase it. So, with the jobs example, if you're over optimizing your job, your search for new candidates that want to work for your company, right? Let's say, what would that mean if you're over optimizing? What that would mean is like you're filtering resumes based purely on X years of experience and X degree, right? Because what you said in your mind is like, this is a good enough proxy, and I'm going to cut off, like you said, 95% of the candidates aren't going to meet this, but I don't want to talk to them because the odds are that the more qualified candidates are going to be in the 5% that I'm leaving over. Okay, so when it comes to running a business, this is like a transactional decision, all right? So you may even be conscious, although many people probably aren't, but you may be conscious of the reality that like in that 95%, there probably were very good candidates who would have been great additions to your company, and you just skipped right over them because you've sort of, like I said, over optimized your process. But you have access to that thing, and it's going to save you time, and you've made the calculated decision to say, hey, I don't care, and I'm just going to do it. When you apply this to dating, I mean, hopefully it's obvious when we're taking something that's like looking for a job and looking for new people to work for your company is like important, all right? It's important, but it's not that important, right? It's not that big of a deal, really, at the end of the day. But dating, there is nothing more important than how people are meeting, if they're getting married, and if they're having kids. If we care about the future of the world, of human society, that is the number one issue. There is nothing more important than that. Everything else could go wrong. We could all be starving to death. We could all be in wars. We could all be in horrible, grim situations. But as long as people are getting together and having kids, the future of humanity stands a chance, right? Take that out of the equation, and we are literally cooked. There is no way out if we're not doing that. Okay, so you can't over optimize this process. This is something that has to be isolated from capitalism, in my view, right? Or it's almost impossible to do that now. And we'll talk about what we're going to prescribe in terms of what to do in this situation. But that's why it's such a huge deal, okay? Is like it's over optimized, which is a problem in any area. But when you start to optimize human relationships, you lose the substance, you lose the humanity.
The nature of it, right?
Yes.
And I think with the fact that you just said over optimized, it had me thinking of something that you're going to be able to relate to, I think, because you kind of planted the seed in my head a few years ago. Over-optimizing ruins certain things for just us even. And we've thought about this in the form of World of Warcraft Classic. So I'll give a quick analogy, a quick little anecdote. 10, 15 years ago, I don't even know how long ago at this point, him and I were playing, World of Warcraft, not Classic, but what it was at the time was just World of Warcraft, right? It was just a really fun,
regular,
regular World of Warcraft, right? And so we were playing that game because the fun part about, and everybody that's watching this on some level, I'm sure has interfaced with somebody who's played that game, so they can understand, hey, it's really fun to jump into a game that's like so much bigger than what you've been playing before. Like, because we were playing some RPGs that weren't massively multiplayer, so we're just saying, hey, we're locked into just 10 stages, 10 levels, whatever. But in this game, it's like almost like an infinite bigger reality, and there's just so many different things you can do. So we're thinking, hey, this is awesome. Like, we're learning new things, we're figuring out cool stuff, right? Fast forward 10 years, 15 years, they re-released the game. And it's been over-optimized by, private server communities and stuff. And, that's great. I think I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying that what that does is that will ruin the fun of that situation for those of the players that were just saying, hey, I'm playing this game because it's novel, it's fun, it's cool. But if it's over-optimized, like you said, now everything is already like scripted. So you're going into like a dungeon or whatever, and you already know the exact path, Dijkstra's algorithm to go, hey, I'm going to go from this node to this node, and I'm going to pull
Yep.
2 mobs and maybe 2.5 if there's a patrol. And if I get unlucky with the spawns, we can just restart. And I get that, and I love the speedrunning community. I'm not bashing that. I'm saying
Yeah,
that's
that's what I'm
not
talking about.
for everybody, right? That's not for everybody. And
Right.
so circling
Yeah.
that into what you said with over optimizing like the dating market as well, and using my analogy to kind of reference it back to the job market is over optimized and said, hey, we're going to take 5% of these employees that are applying for us, and we're just going to try to go with those guys. And that is creating what I like to think of as a negative reinforcement loop, right? So you're negatively reinforcing the fact that, hey, these 5% are always the best people. And like you said, the rest of the 95%, there's probably more people in that 95% as a absolute number than there are in the 5% that are qualified, that are actually qualified,
Yeah.
right? That are actually going to do a
Yeah.
good job. But you've negatively reinforced, hey, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for 8 years of experience. We're looking for credentials. We're looking for a soft personality. We're looking for skills that are intercommunicational skills. We're looking for you to be sensitive around other people in the workplace, right? These are skills that are not necessarily required to, you know, build a jet turbine, but that's required for you to get into an office and like get past the screening process of that, right? So where I'm going with this is you're negatively reinforcing that so that you're making people that want to build jet turbines think that that stuff's important to build jet turbines. Now you're filtering out those folks that are predestined, in my opinion, to be those jet turbine innovators. And so those guys are now hobbyists, or now they're doing their Amazon delivery job, and they're in the side thinking about jet turbine, but they're not able to work into the system and get into that job.
Yeah.
And so I think that's negatively kind of compounding itself. And how that relates to
Yeah.
dating is it's the same thing. Men or women, in this case, mostly women, because they're going to be creating the profiles, and then men are going to approach them with the standards, right? They list off things that they think they want, and if you watched our previous episode on kind of the red pill and description of what, there was a question in there from a Redditor that we tackled a little bit of it and sneak peek of this, but some of the times that they list what they want, they don't exactly want what they're listing, right? We all know that. So, but the people that are applying for that position, right, of the boyfriend of the girl, they're going to try to say, hey, I've got this trait, and maybe she wants that trait, so I'll become the caricature that I've kind of set out that I am, right? They kind of lean into it too much. And so now you've got a bunch of men who love traveling, or who love going to Target and doing all that stuff that are just not things that are organic, right? Just to meet the standards of somebody who is posting to get that negative reinforcement, right? So I think it's a very perfect analogy that you bring into it, and I think a lot of this could be solved by, well, not could be solved by, but a lot of the reason that this is an issue is because the internet or these dating apps allow you to scale up to that over optimized level, 95% split. So kind of back to you, and I'll ask you a kind of a question. When you think of a job over optimizing, and you've got that 5% of people, do you think that there's some level of, I'm going to take advantage of that system and say, hey, I'm just going to lie and say I've got these 8 years of experience, I've got all these credentials, right? And could that lead to negative consequences for the employer, not just the employee, but the actual employer, in the form of the employee ditching the company within 2 weeks for a better one, et cetera? And then how does that relate to the dating market?
I think most people have had this experience. Like if you're taking, you apply to a job and they make you do that, like a personality quiz or something, whatever it is, and you have to answer a bunch of questions. Like, I agree with this statement, or I softly agree with this one, or blah, 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 right? Anybody who has like a brain in their head knows that when you're taking a question, like a quiz like that, and like one of the questions is, I'm a hard worker, right? You're applying for a job, so I'm not going to put strongly disagree, even if I know in my head that, yeah, I'm pretty fucking lazy. I'm not going to say that. I'm looking for a job. I want you to hire me, right? So I'm immediately incentivized to lie to them, right?
Question for you, real
Yeah.
quick. How many people do you think put this hard agree, like that they're lazy?
There's some. I guarantee you, there's some, right? And they're all like, I can't get hired. What's going on? I need to go to college. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So you're incentivized to lie, and the employer, I can't imagine what the benefit is in that. I mean, I guess they must make the calculation, and this is being charitable, but maybe they're making the calculation that like enough people will answer, or we'll get enough information from you, even if, yeah, some of these questions are stupid, and like we'll just kind of ignore those, but we'll kind of focus on the others. And if there's enough of them here, then you're going to answer them honestly, whether you like it or not, because there's just so many, and you're going through them. So I don't know. That's my charitable, but that's not really here nor there. So to circle it back to dating, right? The same phenomenon happens, as you mentioned. There's this thing going on today. I think people have seen probably that what I call the checklist daters, right? And women are, I think, mostly guilty of this, but there are men that do it too. where 6 feet, 6-inch portfolio, uh, handsome, whatever else. I just these random traits that I've decided that I deserve, and I'm going to put them on a checklist. And if you don't meet the checklist, get out of my face, right? Why is that a bad thing? Okay, why shouldn't women? Let's say she's young. Let's say she's attractive. She has tons of attention. Why shouldn't she have a checklist? What's wrong with that? Here's what's wrong with it. That has nothing to do with love, right? It has nothing to do with an authentic connection, right? Only thing that I'll give you charitably is to say that yes, I think it's important to be attracted to whoever you're with. That's it. I'll say that you should be attracted to them. So, if you're not attracted to them, then don't force it because I think that's a waste of time. Now, that's the most charitable thing I'll say about that, right? To attack it though, is what you're doing is you're stripping down. I mean, Tony was saying at the beginning, like he's being conscious of when he was giving his bottom up explanation of like, I don't want to dehumanize the situation too much, right? But you know who's really dehumanizing it is the women with their checklists. Like this is the definition of dehumanizing. I'm reducing you to a set of traits, and I don't give a crap about your humanity. I don't care about your character, right? And sometimes they'll even list that. I want a man who's like a Christian. I want him a man who I don't know, buys me flowers, like stuff that they use as proxies for the man's true character. Like they'll put that on the list, but you can't judge that on a dating profile, so it's irrelevant. They just put it there just to look better, right?
Right.
So they strip out the humanity of the person, and here's the thing about women, the way that a woman's attraction works. Physical attraction is almost an afterthought, right? I mean, it's not completely. I mean, if you're really busted, if you're like super obese or whatever, then yeah, you gotta improve your appearance and at least be clean and well groomed and all that, right? That's kind of a minimum. But as long as you've got all that in order, if you're in good shape and you're clean and well groomed, then you kind of put some effort into the way you dress. As long as that's all you need, everything else that's going to make you attractive to women are traits that you can develop, right? And the modern woman, I think, doesn't realize that, right? I mean, there are some that do, and I think those women are doing fine because women who are honest with themselves will understand, yeah, he's a little ugly, but he's really funny. He treats me well. I know he's going to be a great father. He's a hard worker. This is my husband, right? And she'll become attracted to him. And literally, a woman will become attracted to a man the more time she spends with him. The more masculine he is. The better he is at doing the things that she doesn't even know that she needs him to do.
What's up, guys? Thanks for checking out this clip from the Maneuver Life podcast. If you enjoyed it, consider liking and subscribing and leaving a comment, even if it's just because you want to tell us how dumb you think we are, but especially if you want to tell us how much you agree with what we were saying. We have weekly uploads every single Monday, long-form conversations just like this one. So consider checking it out one way or the other. Thank you so much for your attention. You have a good rest of your day.